name is Sellers, okay? Just for the sake of the conversation. So, ding dong. Oh, I forgot one thing. I'm sorry. When you ring the bell, take a couple steps back. You don't want to be too close to them, okay? You don't want to be in their face. So, ding.
Hi.
Hi, Joe.
Yes, Joe.
Joe, I'm Leif Morocco with Keller Williams. I'm so excited that you invited me to your house. Hi, Susie. Hi, how are you? Great. I love your flower bed here. It's really
Thank you.
nice.
Come on in.
Oh, thank you. We had an appointment at 3 o'clock, and it's 3 o'clock right now, so I'm on time.
Perfect timing.
Excellent. Great, great. Can you show me the kitchen table? I like to usually,
There's a kitchen table.
great. So how you guys doing?
I'll sit down. I'll sit next to me.
Usually I have them on each side. I ask them to sit each one on each side, and I'll be in the middle, so they could be, accessible to me, so I could know which one is making the decision, and I lean toward that person a little more. But for the sake of this exercise, they're, so you can see them. I don't want someone's back on you, so we'll sit that way. So thanks once again. Thank you for inviting me to your house.
No problem.
Great. So before we start, I just wanted to kind of know a little bit about you, see, we're going to work together, hopefully. So I just wanted to see, what do you do for a living?
I'm an engineer.
Oh, great. So a lot of details there, huh?
Right.
You like numbers, and actually I used to, I'm a carpenter by trade, so I like, specifics and all that kind of stuff. So what kind of engineer are you?
I'm a suspension engineer for General Motors.
Nice, good. So if I need discount, I could call you?
Sure, definitely. This works out.
Great. And what do you do, Susie?
I'm a pharmaceutical rep.
Oh, nice. Great. I hear it's a good business.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So far, 15 years I've been doing it.
Wow, that's a long time. So obviously you're successful.
I say so.
She does real well.
We do well.
Great. Well, that's good. So let me tell you a little bit about me. I've been in business, and you guys can modify it however you want. I've been in business for 17 years. I've been with Keller Williams for about 12 now. I run a very successful business. My track record shows that, what I do, and I'm sure you will build me a little bit. So I'm a father of three. My daughter had a scholarship to Wayne State. My son is into art, so he's in Spec Howard. And my older one is still in high school, so very happy.
We were referred to you. We got really good references.
Good.
Our friend CR interviewed a couple other real estate agents as well, just so you know.
Okay, well, that's good. We'll talk about that in a minute. So did you receive my pre-listing package?
Yeah, we did. I went through it. Looks good.
Okay. Did you fill up the seller disclosure with base, all that kind of stuff?
We didn't do that yet, but we did fill out the questionnaire for you.
Okay. Well, let's get to business. So let's start with this. How about you fill up the seller disclosure? By the way, the seller disclosure, lead-based disclosure, you will need for if you list with anybody. And I know you will list with me, so let's start with that. And while you fill up the the seller disclosure, I will walk around the house and look at it from the buyer's eye. Does that sound fair?
I think I'm going to hold off on filling that out right now. But I'd like to see what your opinion is on the house.
Okay, so you want to give me a tour?
Sure.
Okay, so we get out, we go look at it at a tour. So here, I send them a pre-listing presentation a day ahead. I give them my pre-listing presentation has a little instruction on seller disclosure, lead-based disclosure are legal documents that every seller have to fill, right? So I'm asking them to fill it up. About 20% of the time, maybe less than 20% of the time, they will fill it up. He's an engineer, so I was expecting a yes, because engineers usually fill it up, but he didn't do it. I guess he's not a great engineer. But anyways, so I asked them if they filled it up. If they filled it up, if they didn't fill it up, I asked them to fill it up, and I'll look at the house from the buyer's eye. See, now I gave in a little bit because I saw some resistance. So I told them, okay, show me a tour. Usually I insist on looking at the house myself, so I could give them, an opinion on what the buyer would be looking at. In the same token, I could go around the house with him and mentioned, well, the buyer will look at this, the buyer will look at that, okay? So we went through the house, and you need a little bit of paint, you need a little bit of carpet. So it seems like, you know, your house is beautiful.
Thank
You have a lot of updates.
Mhm.
There's a few things that need to be improved, and we could, you know, I mentioned a few things for you. So,
Do you think we should hold off listing it until we get the new carpet and paint done?
well, let's talk about price, and based on the price that you guys are expecting, I could tell you if it's worth it or not. I also have a chart in my pre-listing presentation telling you that if you replace A, B, and C, what would it be worth when you sell it? So most likely, depend on the cosmetic things, usually you will have a good return on investment. The bigger things that if you remodel the whole kitchen, for example, you're probably gonna capture about 65 to 70% of what you spent. So it
What do you
depends.
think we should list it at?
Great question, so let's talk about that. Based on the CMA, by the way, I don't send the CMA in my pre-listing presentation. I just send them information about myself. Some agents do, okay? You could send it if you want, so you pick your own style. That's why I'm doing my style to show you what I do, and then somebody else can do their style, and you could gain more information, and you pick which way you want to do it.
To piggyback on that, sending the CMA prior could give them too much information, so keep that in mind.
We need more things to talk about,
Right.
so I try to give them as little possible before we
Create a need for you,
So you bring it with you.
because remember, I'm an engineer, so I'm gonna have these numbers memorized when you get here.
Yep.
So you don't wanna do that.
And
So-
maybe square footage down to the
Right.
inch.
Yep, right, yeah. So, we're gonna pretend this is a CMA.
Mhm.
So based on the CMA here, I picked 4 active listings, and we're gonna call them competition. So you have 4 houses similar to yours in the market that you are competing with, okay? And then I have 5 listings that were sold in the last 6 months, which gives us a good idea on what, you know, what gauge we're working with as far as the market goes. Sounds fair?
Sure.
Okay, so I usually don't focus on the listed properties that is active, not sold yet. But I put them here so we know what our competition is.
So why don't you focus on those? 'Cause that's our competition.
So when you try to price something, you have to have a track record. There's a lot of agents in the market who are not strong enough like myself, they will take a listing for whatever price. So if your neighbor lists their house 100,000 more than what it's worth, it doesn't give you a good idea on what the house is worth.
Okay,
Sounds fair?
I guess that makes sense.
All right. So 5 houses sold. The average sell price in these houses is around 340. The highest one sold was 375. However, the one that sold for 375 has a lot of upgrades. So in my opinion, you will fall in that range between the 340 and the 375. So I think, you know, if I were you, I would probably be in a 359. Does that sound good?
Or was it
Yeah, we were
closer to
thinking about
400?
starting at 400.
Wow. So if you don't mind me asking, how did you come to that specific number?
Well, I was looking at Zillow and they seem to give us an estimate, yeah, of 400.
Oh, great. Well, Zillow is a great website. I'm not going to knock it down. However, it's a national website. So when they come to price a house, they use national data. They don't use local data. They have somewhat of a local data, but it's not as specific as calling a professional like myself. So,
You said 375 on the high, wouldn't we still have to start at 400 just to get there?
no, actually, this house was listed for 370 and sold for 375 because we are in a seller market right now.
Okay.
So actually, the 359 is a number that I think, in my opinion, you would sell it in a very fair amount of time.
You know, we're not in a real hurry either.
Okay. Well, let me explain to you time on the market.
Mhm.
The first 2 weeks are the most critical weeks to sell your house. So if you're not in a hurry, you still have to price it right. Because if you don't price it right, you will miss the boat with the first 2 weeks. You will end up with less money than you expect. Does that sound right? Sound fair to you?
Sounds fair, I guess.
Okay. So the 369, you think is, 359, you think it's a good price?
Yeah, well, What do you make doing that?
What do you charge for a commission for
Right.
that?
Great question. Our office policy is 6%. So the 359, you think it's a good price?
Yes.
Yeah, but everybody else we've been talking to will sell for 4 or 5%.
Totally. Well, that's great. I understand that you want to net more money, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So basically, it doesn't matter what they charge as long as you net the most money you can.
At the end of the day, we need to check.
Okay, great. So everybody assumed that everything, or houses for that matter, sell for about the same price, right? But that's not
According to
true.
What you showed me there.
But it's not true. You know, you have the range between 340 and 375, right?
Mhm.
So you have a big range that you could play with. Traditionally, you know, when you talk to big companies, they pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for someone to negotiate on their behalf. So they hire negotiators for them to net the most money they can. And obviously, the person who told you, I'll charge you 4%, they just negotiated themselves down to 4%. So how comfortable are you to give someone who can't negotiate a chance of your biggest investment to negotiate on your behalf? Don't you need a bulldog like me to negotiate for you?
I guess that makes sense.
So don't you think if you started at 375, you can always go down? You can't go up, you know what I mean, unless it was a bidding war.
That's absolutely true. If you go down, but here's the thing, again, we'll go back to the 2-week period. So if you don't have an offer in the first 2 weeks, your property, your listing is, we call it stale. So when the listing is stale, we will end up with less than 350 down the road. So it's always best to list it at the market value. So are you ready to sign a contract?
I've also been thinking about selling this myself. I mean, everybody's coming in with the same numbers. I think I could pretty much do this. I'll watch it on TV.
It's a great,
Right. It sells.
great. Well, it's a great option also. I don't, if I were you, I would think about that option too. Let me show you a couple of facts. Number one, 92% of for sale by owner are sold by real estate agent. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
So most for sale by owner, if you decide to sell it yourself, most for sale by owner, they factor in 3% for the buyer agent. And again, over 90% of these houses are sold with an agent. So you're only saving the 3%, right?
I guess so.
Okay, so let's talk about my track record.
Mhm.
In the market, the average agent is selling their house. They're selling a house within 97.2% of the list price, and it's in MLS. You could go check it out. Our office track record, and I'm using the office guide, so you could use it. Our office track record is 99.2%. So we have 2% higher than the average agent. So we're sitting here negotiating 1%. Okay. My negotiation skills, I usually do more than 99.2%, and I know I could get you the value and peace of mind worth that 1%. Because when you sell it yourself, you will have Tom, Dick, and Harry knocking on your door who are not qualified, who you don't know who they are. So it might be a safety issue. I don't want to scare you. And you have to be there every time someone show up. So for the peace of mind, for the convenience, I don't think, that 1% is worth your time. Don't you agree? And you're an engineer. If you go and build another suspension system and make millions of dollars in that, many hours that you're going to spend in the house, it's more worth it for you than sitting here waiting for buyers.
What if we just had you put it on the MLS for us?
I don't do that. This is, this is called MLS entry listing,
Mm-hmm.
and these are discount brokers. I'm a full service broker. I have standards, and I don't want to go below my standards. And I think you want to associate yourself with someone like that. You don't want to go with someone who have no standards.
I guess you're right. Well, what if we did this for you then? We'll let you list it at the 359, but we're only going to give you 30 days.
How about you list it for 349 and I'll take the 30 days. Let me explain this to you. So today's market, like we said, is a seller's market. So by the way, I would offer that only in our market now, and you go ahead and offer it. Today's market is, and you have to have good data. Based on what I'm gonna say, I already studied the house. I know I could sell it for 350. Okay, I know I will have multiple offers for 350. Okay, so how about this? I will take your 30-day listing. You list it for 349 with me, and I can, you know, if I can sell it in 30 days for that 349, then you're off the hook. However, you're gonna have to do everything I tell you to do in these 30 days. Does that sound fair?
What are you asking us to do then?
I will want you to be available all the time to show the property, so no canceled showings. I will, I gave you in my pre-listing presentation, I have a little, by the way, all these things are on KW, you guys, you can download them. They have a little, brochure saying, what to do, when there's a showing. So, make sure the temperature is comfortable, make sure that the house smells good, make sure this and that. So you will cooperate with that sheet that I gave
Yeah,
you.
we want to sell the house.
Okay, and I would like to do 2 open houses.
2 open houses.
Will that be okay?
Would that be okay with you?
Sounds good to me, I'll wait for the keys.
Okay, so time to sign the contract?
Well, I did want to talk to, we had 2 more agents, one's my cousin.
Oh, really? Great. What agency is you?
He's with Remax.
Oh, give me his number. Maybe I'll convince him to come to my brokerage.
I'll talk to him.
So I really appreciate that. I mean, you are a very, it seems like you guys have high values and very, very nice people, because basically you don't want to, you kind of feel obligated to meet with these people, right? That's why you
Yeah,
have
we
meet
set
with
the
them.
appointment, right.
So beside meeting with them and hearing their objections or hearing their how they would sell your house, if you didn't have these appointments, would you list with me today?
Yeah, I'd probably give you the deal, yeah.
Okay, so I'll make you a deal. I'm gonna save them the trouble of going through, doing all the work, preparing for the appointment. Give me their numbers and I'll call them on their behalf and tell them that you respect them so much and you don't want them to waste their time, but they already listed with me. And if they have a buyer, I'm more than happy to give them a portion of my commission. Does that sound
I
fair?
shouldn't do business with family anyway.
All right, that's fine.
All right, so time to sign. Are you ready to sign the contract?
We can do that.
Great. Well, thank you, Joe. Thank you, Susie. So there you go. What do you guys think?
Nice.
Nice.
Thank you. Any other objections you guys can think of? Anything that we said that you think we could add or do different? Anybody?
The thing I don't think you covered was I want to wait a while. Did you talk about that?
We talked about it when they said, should we fix the stuff and wait? So we
Okay.
could talk about it a little more.
He spun them into what the return on the investment is to do it. There may not be enough return to do that. Sometimes they'll say, I want to put granite in. All right, granite's $5,000. Are we going to get an additional 10?
Okay, so let's talk about it a little bit more because you brought it up. Here's an opportunity in your listing agreement, and we talked about it in our form class, and I'll say it again. If they say we want to wait and they stuck on it, that's fine. Tell them, okay, how much time do you need? So they'll say we need 2 weeks to paint, carpet, whatever. Okay, I'll be great. So that gives me 2 weeks to prepare to market your property. Let's sign the contract, date it for July 15th, and July 15 will hit the market. Sounds good? And if they still give you an objection, use this sentence. I probably didn't use it enough. Beside this, is there anything else that will prevent you from listing with me today? So use listing with me a lot, because the power of words. So give them that listing with me. Beside waiting to do the carpet, if we handle that objection, don't say it that way. If that's not a problem, is there anything else will prevent you from listing with me? No? Great, let's sign. So, and here's another thing that probably I didn't do a lot, I should have. I did maybe 3 or 4 times, maybe you didn't pay attention to it. Ask for the signature. So every time you handle an objection, so he said commission, and I talked about, my commission is 6% and so on and so forth. Somebody else is charging 4. Well, they have no value. I negotiate, companies. And I like this script because companies do hire negotiators for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Obviously, there's value to you negotiating on their behalf. So if you tell them, and they don't know you well, even if you're new, if you tell them I'm a master negotiator, you're right, because you have a team of 215 agents behind you that has over 500 years of experience that could make you a master negotiator. And we are an open company where you can go and ask anyone in our company how to handle this, and they'll tell you exactly how they do it. So you're not lying to them. You are a master negotiator. And everybody who's new have someone helping them through their transactions. So you have people in your team. So use that to your benefit, okay? So I use that script because I like it. I like that I'm a negotiator. I know myself. I can negotiate things, okay? So you don't want someone who already negotiated themselves their own money down to the minimum, you know? Plus that person is probably given 2% to the buyer agent. That's another thing you can tell the seller, which doesn't make your house attractive to agents. They're not gonna show your house. So there's a lot of ways to spend the 6%. And I'm not charging 6% because, only about money. Well, it is about money a little bit, but I'm charging 6% so I could give somebody enough money to bring a buyer.
About value.
It's about value. And the absence of value always comes down to price. So if you can't provide value, you will be a discount broker. If you can't show them that you have the value, if you're not confident and make sure that to answer every objection with, straight up answer, then it will come down to you cutting your commission. But if you insist that this is the way it is and not give them enough, doubt, you got it. You will get it. So going back to I want to wait. Use the contract. We could sign it for 2 weeks ahead. 2 weeks ahead and start it then. Any other objections you guys can think of?
Not an objection, but you mentioned that you have a chart that would tell you what your return would be on these different.
Yes, that chart
Is that in KW?
It's in KW, but I will try to find it and have Liz email it to everybody.
That'd be great, thank you.
I actually have it in my pre-listing, but my pre-listing is old. Again, I just got back selling like 6 months ago. So my material is not as new, but the chart should be accurate because you can't get more.
Yeah.
I mean, the best you could get is like 70% on whatever you do, except for carpet and paint. These are the only two things that I suggest to sellers. You could get your investment back.
Especially paint.
Especially.
What about like curb appeal? Like as far as like the front yard, if you updated like underneath the flower bed, put in new wood chips or something?
Rule of thumb for me, depend on the price of the house. If you're spending less than 0.5%, you go for it.
Okay.
So take a 0.5%. If it's $100,000, I won't spend more than $500, maybe $700 to make it look nice.
The return on it is just not really.
The return is time. A lot of these things, the return is time.
Okay.
If time is valuable for them, then tell them go ahead and do it, because you're gonna sell it faster.
Okay, back to your question before, what was?
It's a chart that he has that will tell you if you add granite, you're gonna get this much. You can
Well,
add
not
this-
that specific.
Not that,
It's a
but-
chart that tells you if you have a finished basement, if you go and spend money on finished basement, for example,
Sure.
basements will give you about 50%, not even 40% in some cases. So if you go and spend 30 grand doing a basement, expect maybe $10,000-12,000 back from it.
Very good. The other question I had for you, apart from that, is when you're analyzing the data, you're cross-referencing against other properties,
Uh-huh.
matching with the property that's being listed. What system do you use to evaluate that? To give them a transparent approach, versus somebody just off the cuff saying, okay, your house is worth this much.
I'm gonna give you my bad habit.
Okay, cool.
Okay. I'm not a fan of CMAs.
Okay,
Okay? I do them. I take them with me.
sure.
And I tell the seller I'm not a fan of them. Because if you don't do a detailed CMA, it's just giving you a range. And in today's market, the range is so big, I don't even like to show it to my client. okay? Because I've been in neighborhoods in the same stuff, and the range is like 40 grand between, with the same square footage. I'm telling you, it's bizarre to me. I'm looking at things that I've never seen before. Some neighborhoods, you see the range like 30, 25,000. It's a huge range. And then you have to go into details. This one is fully updated, this one needs work, this one blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So CMA, it's boring for me. Maybe it's good for an engineer, but to me it's boring, okay? So what I do, I pick 5 similar properties that's sold, white out the price, and 5 active property in the market, white out the price. And spread them all on the table and say which one matches your house most. There's all the pictures, all the details, everything. Tell me which one you think it's more similar to your house. And they'll pick 1 or 2. And then I tell them, well, this sold for that much, this listed for that much. What do you think? How much should we list it for? So that's my bad habit. That's how I kind of like do it.
No, that's fine, I understand where you're.
That's actually the Ben Kenny technique. It's called the 5-5-5. You get 5 actives, 5 pendings, and 5 solds. And you run the actives, the pendings, and the solds, and have them pick the one that's closest.
I didn't know it's a technique. I thought
It's actually real.
dumb idea.
No, it's not a dumb idea. It actually works because you have them pick the 3 houses, active, pending, and sold, and we should see an ascending market.
So this gives me like they're picking their own thing, and I white out the price because I don't want them to base it on a price, right? So that's how I look at it. But if you want to be really specific, if you do a great CMA and do the price adjustment, because there's a price adjustment tab on a CMA. If you know all the prices, be my guest, go ahead and do it. Because there's a value for a garage, 2-car garage versus 3-car garage. There's a value for a remodeled kitchen versus not remodeled, blah, blah, blah. So if you can do that, then you have a perfect CMA, you have an exact value.
Yeah, whole day's worth of work.
I have a question about the properties that are the biggest challenge. When you're in the city and you have a beautiful home that's right across the street from something that's been boarded up, I know there are changes in values, but what do you emphasize when you're selling that property to overcome that flaw?
Okay, what city are we talking about? Detroit?
Yeah.
Okay. Detroit, I have a different answer, but let's talk in general.
Okay.
So the people who's looking in that area, they know there's good and bad houses. So the expectation is there. They already know that when they buy a house, if the whole neighborhood has these problems, like every street have 2 or 3 boarded houses, then they expect it. So it shouldn't be a huge issue, but it is an issue that you have to overcome. Frankly, you can't really do nothing about the boarded house. It's not yours. It's not the seller's. So you really can't do nothing about it. Just market the house as much as you can, and then when they're there, if they're okay with it, they're okay with it. It really doesn't happen. However, the city of Detroit, I think they have a couple programs in place that I heard of. I'm not sure if they are, where the city contribute X amount of money to tear down a house if it's a tear down. Look into that.
Also, when we start talking about city blight, I mean, that's not really what we're dealing with here. This is a more traditional market.
Yeah. Any other questions, guys?
What else is in your pre-listing when you drop off? Do you have any, like, marketing plan in it, or are you
No.
just doing?
Yeah, I have a marketing plan, yes.
That's in it?
Yeah, I have a bio. And usually it has nothing to do with real estate.
Okay.
I have a bio about myself. I tell them who I am, what I do, what my hobbies are, what I like, just kind of like a dating profile.
Yeah.
So,
We should all have a
I'm not
bio.
available, but, whatever.
Yeah.
So, I have a bio about myself. I have best way to show a house, the sheet telling them, cook some cookies, bake some cookies, and, whatever. Don't spray the house, by the way. Please, do not
Or
use,
those plugins. They use.
use something that is light. You don't want people, because when you're in a house, you don't smell it. When you open the door and walk in and this, you get hammered with this strong scent, then buyers will think there's something wrong with the house.
Yeah.
Old landlord's trick, you put a drop of vanilla extract on a few of the light bulbs.
There you go.
Up on the light bulb, the heat makes it smell like fresh baked cookies.
Vanilla is not my favorite, but that's one answer.
There's other flavors.
I don't like vanilla for some reason, but you know, that's one scent I'm not crazy about. But no, do something that will make the house smell better, okay? If you are leaving the house, I usually ask them, turn on all the lights, put some soft music if you want to, you know, things like that. So, beside that, I have a 13-point marketing. I usually include it. I put the seller disclosure, list-based disclosure. Sometimes I put a couple charts about the market, like if it's an up market, down market, you know, seller's market, whatever. So give them some, you know, if I could go local and give them like something like a city, then I'll do that. Any other questions?
One of the things Lake did today, and it's very important, is he was leaving with the listing. Always keep that in the back, in your mindset. Leave with the listing, because the chances of you getting it coming back are slim to none.
Like I said, every objection you handle, and they say, yeah, you're right, are you ready to sign? I think you heard me say that a couple times. I didn't say it as much because I'm pretending, but when I'm there, every time I get them to, so are we ready to sign?
Or ready to get started. Some people like they're ready to get started, so it's
Ready to get started.
Are you ready to get started? Are you ready to get started? Ready to sign, legal, ready to get started, let's get going.
Here's another thing when they say we want to interview other agents, you remind them that there might be someone out there who is perfect for your house, who might find a house today. So let's list it now so we can get them on the MLS tomorrow and this person would be here because we're in a hot market. You know, we're in a hot market. These people are overpaying on their listings. So it's always good to remind them, hey, every minute you wait, someone is gone. And list it right, guys. Don't give in to their price. I just listed it $10,000 less than what I was expecting to list it for.
I noticed that you asked for that when he asked for the very short listing period. Was that deliberate? Like you've asked me to make a
I can
concession,
sell it.
so I want a concession from you.
I could sell it in 30 days if you list it 10,000 below market, especially in this market. Hell yeah, I'll take a week listing.
And the chances are probably gonna be way over the 340.
Yeah, they're gonna get more than 350.
Right, and he's gonna be a hero.
Yeah.
I wanted to try to get that short listing period, just so that you know, you don't need to be out there for a year, 90 days. I mean, we can take whatever. It's gonna sell in 2 weeks or it's not gonna sell.
In this market, guys.
Right.
If we were in the short sale market, then no, I would
Yeah.
take a year listing.
Different game.
So we're talking about the market today. We're not talking about, you know.
And we weren't 30 days, 400,000. You worked me down to where we're gonna sell this property, and the 30 days is irrelevant, doesn't matter.
And I told him to give me as much hard time as he can, but he didn't. And I'm mad at him.
Would you prefer to have kept the price higher and gotten, you know, say, how about 60
No.
days? Would you prefer to?
Nope. I'll
Give him
take
what
a
he asked-
350
Give him what he asked for, but ask for a price concession so that you're not spinning your wheels.
I will take the lower price with less time every day of the week.
Okay.
Is that because you know it'll sell?
I know I could sell it in 2 hours.
Right, we'll sell over asking.
I mean, you hear all these stories. I had a listing in Sterling Heights that had 5 offers the first day. First day,
That was because you marked it below market
it
value.
was below market value. So
I
it
got
was
bidding war.
a great
Is that
catch.
safe to say you got a bidding war for the
Yeah.
most part?
I just had one at Southfield, the folks were getting transferred back to Grand Rapids. I went 219 and we sold it for 239. I had 7 offers the first day. A professional basketball player actually bought it.
And that was just posting it on the MLS.
We knew it was gonna go right up. I was 20,000 under market.
Wow.
My close yesterday had 8 offers and it was listed at 125 and we ended up getting it for 134.
And that's the only market I would do the short listing for. Our market today.
Bam.
But don't be afraid of it. He did the right thing. He asked for the open houses right out of the gate. Prepare them for the open house. We need it. We need to get as many bodies as we can. We only have 30 days. Do the open house. Circle prospect that neighborhood. Don't just show up at the open house 15 minutes before you're supposed to be there and expect people to show up. They won't. You have to get there, door knock on Friday. Tell the neighborhood that you're having an open house and how excited you are to sell a house in their neighborhood. And this is the one opportunity that they have to pick their own neighborhood.
And I didn't use me that much, I tried to use the office, so you could do the same. If you could use your data, use your data. And our office right now is at 99.2% of the asking price for last month.
And we sold 1,200 houses last year.
And that's another thing I didn't mention, our house sold, the objection we were talking about, we didn't bring up, why you? So there's another objection I was thinking about, but I didn't put on the board. Why should we list with you? So you have to have a value proposition. Whatever your value proposition is, I'm not gonna give you mine because you can't use it. I have, been in business for 17 years. I'm a broker of 2 offices. I have 200 plus agents that work for me. I have 500, years of experience behind me, blah, blah, blah. But you could use you, and you could use the office data. And the office will say, well, our team, don't say office, don't say brokerage, our team helped 1,200 families last year find a house by ourselves. We are 99. We are about 2% more in netting value than the average agent in the market. And you can talk about Keller Williams a little bit. We have the best technology among all real estate agents. Fact. We are the #1 training company, which tell you that I will be trained to the max. We are #1 training company among all companies, all industries, not just real estate. Keller Williams is a #1 training company. We beat Google, we beat Apple. Who was the #1 last year? It was a mechanic shop.
Jiffy Lube, wasn't it? I think it was
No.
an oil change place I heard.
Mako, I think.
I think it was auto repair.
One of the auto repair companies were #1 last year. We were #2 in 2015, in 2014. 2015, we were #1 training company in all industries. That says something about the company, okay? So you have that kind of company behind you. I have a team behind me. I have people who I can call any minute and give me an answer. You could use these things to your benefit.
As a Keller Williams agent, your listings are global also.
So I use some words like standards. I don't want to lower my standards. I don't think you do. Do you? I'd like to deal with people who have integrity. I have to deal with people who have high standards. I don't want to lower, like, when I tell them that, I'm trying to put them in that situation. Would you want to deal with someone who has low standards? Someone who just gave up 2% of their commission just to get your business so they could put a sign? Would you deal with someone who's overlisting your house because they want to put a sign to get some buyers? That's low integrity. I'm not working for you, I'm working for myself. My job is to net you the most money possible. So what does that say about me? Right? So you want someone honest, you want someone with high integrity, someone with high standards.
You want somebody using your house to pick up clients. That's what they're doing.
So,
And they're paying you 2% to do it.
Someone that's difficult.
I'm sorry?
This is someone I spoke to the other day.
Okay.
I wanted to bring this person up. He said, if you get a buyer and sign someone as in your buyer agreement, bring them to me, but I still want to sell it by owner.
Okay.
And, I just talked with him a little bit about his marketing to homes with Trulia and Zillow himself. And he said, I've been inundated with calls from agents. And I just sort of mirrored that back to him. Okay, that's who you're talking to, right? What you need are some people who know other people that want your home, not a machine, not a system itself. It's a tremendous aid in looking at the homes, shopping for them, but when it comes to the actual matching of leads and home, people count, right?
Mhm.
And that's how I pointed out to them. But they're talking like, well, I have to do 2.5%.
Mhm.
What do you say to people like that?
First of all, I don't, the good thing we have here is our purchase agreement. Our purchase agreement in the 5th page, it has a verbiage where it says, in the absence of a listing contract, X amount of money goes to Keller Williams. Okay, so there's a blank, you fill it up, and I usually put 3% in that blank. Okay, so when I make the offer is including my commission. And I'll put my commission, whatever it is. So here's my offer, here's what I'm charging. I don't care how much you're offering, because you're not in the multi-listing service. So it doesn't matter what you tell me. So I'm offering you 200,000, my buyer is offering you 200,000, and out of that 200,000, you're paying me 3% according to this. If they sign that document, it's locked in. You don't need no listing, one-party listing with them or anything. However, they could counter it, they could change it, they could do whatever they want to do with it. But using that form itself will give you a little bit of leverage on, hey, I got you the buyer, I got you the price you want. I'm asking for my fair commission, okay? So you said something where he said from Zillow, he's getting all these agents calling,
Right.
right?
Have you spoken with any potential buyers? Just a person?
So what's the ratio of him getting agents versus buyers? It's very high, right? So let me help you out. Let's stop this madness. If you list with me, I promise you, none of these agents are gonna call you. What's a good day and time for me to stop by? Today at 4 or tomorrow at 2, whatever. So that's how you close on an appointment. You tell them, let's stop this madness, hear me out. If you like what you say or what I say, then you don't have to hear from any other agent. And then you go on doing whatever you're doing. You're an engineer, go engineer another thing, right? So, sorry, I don't know what the engineers do. I know they're annoying. Sorry if there's any engineers in here. Bash. Oh, he's annoying.
Right. You hit that on the money.
Any other questions, objections, anything that you guys think ahas? Any ahas, guys? Anything that you think you gained today was worth your while?
Also going back to that, back to the FISBO, if you do have a buyer and they're refusing to pay any commission, just take a 3% seller's concession and have your buyer pay. So write in 3% seller's concession, they'll get concessions, your people pay you the 3%. It can all be done on the HUD.
Yeah. Another thing, when you have a buyer, you have them under contract, they're liable to pay you if they buy a house for sale by owner. So it's for their best interest to have the seller pay you the commission.
And also
So they'll fight for you.
go the route that Lake did and show your value, that we're gonna take care of this title, we're gonna take care of this negotiation. You don't have to do any of this. We'll make sure that everything's in place to get this house closed properly. That's what we do.
I know it's too much at once, but I hope you got some notes. You know, if one thing I'm gonna leave you with is when you walk into a listing presentation, 2 things actually. Walk in with the thinking that you already have the listing. So when you walk in, just think, I got this. Okay, it's mine. Nobody else gonna get it. All right, and be confident. Be confident that you are the only one who can sell this house, okay? So these 2 things, when I walk into a listing, there's a reason why I park on the other side, because my mindset, I got this listing. I want to take a picture when I leave. And sometimes I take a picture before I get into the house. You know, and they watch me take a picture. Don't do that. Because I got cussed out a couple times. So, you're not supposed, by the way, you're not supposed to do anything to the property before you have authorization from them. So I did that a couple times and I got cussed out, so I stopped, you know, so don't do it. But I'm expecting taking a picture after, you know, my presentation. If you go and take a picture, here's another thing a lot of agents do. You could go a day before, take a picture, and put it in your pre-listing package, okay? That's okay, they're not gonna make a fuss about it, all right? But when you're walking into the listing and they're watching you, it's very fresh in their mind, they'll ask you, why did
Looks
you
like
take a
you're
picture?
presuming, yeah.
Yeah. And I kind of most of the time I did okay with it, but these couple times, it was a lawyer, so he was like, well, you're not supposed to take pictures of my house. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. I'll be leaving now. But, no, the other times I would say, well, I'm here to list the property, right? So I'm trying to start early. So I'm kind of starting to think, hey, I'm starting early, I'm taking a picture so we can sign and go. I don't want to take too much of your time. So sometimes it works. Sometimes, and don't be afraid of asking for the listing as soon as you walk in. And that's another thing I didn't do. I'm so mad at myself. Don't be afraid of asking about the listing, because that's the first thing I do when I walk into the house. We sit on the table, I'm like, let me ask you this before we start. Are you ready to sign? Are you ready to list your house right now? Or do you want me to go through the listing presentation? So ask for it. You'll be surprised. You might get 1 out of 1,000, but you'll get that one that says, you know what, I'm sick and tired of sitting, meeting with agents, let's just list it.
Actually, I had one time, it was the shortest presentation I ever done. Took about 3 minutes.
No way.
Sat at the table. You guys have any question before we sign? No? All right.
That's a great way. Use this.
Yeah.
You sit down, you have any questions before we sign?
You're gonna have to deliver the listing package, or not the listing package.
Pre-list.
Pre-listing package.
Yeah. So do you have any questions before we sign the contract? Great, I love this.
And this-
If they say no, okay, let's sign that. Yeah.
And I got out so quick, I said, we'll come back for the pictures.
There you go.
So,
Any other questions?
One of the things you handled at the end that I thought was very valuable was dealing with I've got a brother or a friend or a cousin who's an agent, and I really feel like I should meet with him too. Can you talk a little bit more about that? I like the way you handled it. Even removing the discomfort level for them of having to call their.
I'll call them.
Yeah.
I'm more than happy.
I'll call them for you or something like that.
That's actually one part.
Yeah.
And I got the listing. But no, a couple of things, I don't know if you noticed or not, pay a lot of compliments and be very understanding.
And sincere.
I appreciate that, I understand that, that's a great question, great idea. Use these words because you build them up as much as you can. Because people like to be right, like to be, hey, like complimented. So give them a lot of compliments, agree with them, and then show them that they're wrong in a nice way. But agree with them. Agree with them all the time. You're right. You're absolutely right. So let's look at it this way. It's just another point of view. I'm not arguing with you. I'm not telling you you're wrong. You're right, but here's another way to look at it. So try that. Any other questions? Come once.
Ready to sign? Ready to sign the paper?
I'm ready to sign.
Well, the one thing I think with not seeing the house before you say, oh, you're ready to sign, what if there's like mold in the basement? You're like, oh crap, I just told them to list it for this price. And it really
So we'll
shouldn't
clean it
be
up.
that mess. You know what I mean? Well,
A little bit of bleach water and we're done.
You notice we viewed the house before we start talking about the listing, right? So there's 2 schools of thought to that. Agents say it's better to go and view the house with them or without them, doesn't matter, before we sit down and talk, so we could handle all the objections, okay? And some other agents say it doesn't really matter, I'll look at it toward then, okay? I'm one of those who wait till then, because I don't want to waste my time. I want to know if I'm getting a listing now. I'm too anxious to wait. I don't want to wait till I look at the house. Give me the listing, then I'll look at it, okay? However, if I feel the seller really wants me to see the house because they have these stainless steel nails that they, did the deck with or whatever, then yeah, I'll go look at it. But while I'm looking at it from a buyer's eye. So we didn't go in depth into that. So, but when I tell them, hey, let me go and look at the house by myself while you fill up your seller disclosure. So I could look at it from the eyes of the buyer, right? And then he says, no, I want to show it to you. And I'll tell him, Joe, don't be offended, but I'm going to look at it from the buyer's eye. By the way, there's a slide on the pre-listing presentation that shows you what the inspector sees, and it's this boarded house that you saw, what the buyer sees, which is an average house, what the seller sees is a castle. Okay? So don't be offended, Joe. I'm gonna look at it from the buyer's eyes. And like I showed you on the slide, if you showed them the slide, if you wanna bring it with you. If they wanna see it, I would show them the slide, okay? And like I showed you the slide, the buyer will look at it in a different way than you look at it. And then we look at the house and he'll say, well, this ceramic tile is porcelain, it's not ceramic, and it's $20 a tile, and whatever. I'm like, that's great, I really love it. It's really, you guys have a perfect choice of colors, whatever. You know, and let me tell you this, Joe, if you walk into a house and you're really not a tile guy, you know, how much do you think this tile is worth? So that's how the buyer are gonna look at it. You know, they don't know it's a $20 tile. So we can't sell that. Literally, I can put it in the remarks, but to them, the value is not $20 a tile. I just wanna bring it up. So down the road, when someone sends you feedback, by the way, we will communicate at least once a week, okay? You will receive feedbacks from any agent who made feedback on the property. I want you to be not surprised and not offended. So please, when you receive the feedback, if you're angry, wait 10 minutes before you call me. I want you to call me right away. So wait 10 minutes, call me, and we'll discuss it. However, you're gonna have some feedbacks that you will not be happy with. But that's how the buyer is seeing it, right?
Okay.
So I have this conversation ahead of time. I'm already, you know, again, not every listing presentation will have all these things in them. I'm giving you every possible scenario to kind of like be prepared. So if it's someone who's very proud of their house, I'll have that conversation with them, okay? Because they think their house is the best house in the block, I'll have that conversation because they will be offended when a listing, buyer agent send me a feedback saying, buyer didn't like the layout, you know, there's noise from the furnace, and, you know, blah, blah, blah.
Reduced price 10%.
Yeah.
A $60,000 kitchen.
Yeah. So I'll have that conversation depend on how they feel about the house. Make sense?
Yeah.
All right. Other questions? Going once, going twice. Thank you guys, I appreciate it.